So I think they're making above the law.
Next one is the zoning issue.
Zoning, and what's the person?
Her father's,
Extension.
brother.
Oh, yes, yes, yes.
He would have been the uncle. My mother was my first cousin.
Okay. Welcome all to the work session of, what is this? This is May 14th. Two items on the agenda. One is discussion with the extension services. I appreciate Ms. Norton coming and meeting with us this evening to hear about this. And the second one is on some zoning changes. So I guess we'll start with the first one. This is, as council's aware, we had a request to include within the budget discussion of extension services in cooperation with a partnership with the Extension Service in the state of Virginia. We elected not to put that in the budget and to handle it after the budget season. So this is the start of that conversation to understand more and about what the Extension Services would bring and how we would separately fund that.
Well,
Okay.
thanks for having me today. I did have a presentation. I don't know. I sent it here as it loaded up. I had a PowerPoint, to Judy. I have it on a thumb drive if maybe I can load it up.
Sorry. Do you have it on thumb
I do,
drive?
actually.
Okay, that would be wonderful.
But it is a short presentation. I do, want to entertain questions, I guess. If you've
Okay.
got, questions about what we do and why it's important.
Want to take, Teresa, if you can help him with that, then. Cam's going away.
So, like I was introduced as, I'm the extension agent in York County, and I'm also the unit coordinator, which basically means I'm the office manager, so I deal with the budgets and all that kind of stuff. I'm kind of default in that role because I'm the only extension agent in the office. But we do have a unit administrative assistant who does a lot of our administrative work for us, and then we also have a part-time technician that helps us run 4-H camp. But basically, Virginia Cooperative Extension is a service that enables people to improve their lives through an educational process that uses scientific knowledge focused on issues and needs. So that's sort of our mission statement. That's a lot of, big fancy words. But basically what that means is that we take the knowledge that the land grant institutions create, which in the state of Virginia are Virginia Tech and Virginia State University, and we put it into the hands of the people that need that information. Okay, the title of the organization says it's Virginia Cooperative Extension. It's a cooperative agreement between the state, Virginia Tech, Virginia State University, and the locality, which in my instance is York County. We do deliver this education through 4 main program thrusts, the first being agricultural and natural resources. So I'm the horticulture agent, so I fall under that agriculture and natural resources, but certainly we all do a little bit of everything. We also have 4-H, youth development, which anything that I do with kids, whether it be horticulture or anything else, that is considered 4-H, so it falls under that umbrella. We also have family and consumer science programming, which used to be known as home economics, so it's the nutrition and food preservation and also financial planning for families. And then we have community viability, which sort of brings everything together. Just sort of a quick rundown, which I did provide in a letter before this meeting, of some of the programs that we do offer in horticulture. I'm not going to read them to you, but we do quite a bit of stuff with homeowners, helping them do sustainable horticulture. Certainly that's important in this area with the lawn clinics and teaching them not to fertilize too much, and when they do, how to choose a fertilizer that's going to be bay friendly. We do Master Gardener training, which I think is what brought this up. I do a lot of public lectures on horticultural topics. We also do pesticide applicator certification and recertification, so anybody that does use pesticides as part of their job does need certification, and we help people get that certification, and we also help recertify them. One of the good examples of this that we do is we work with employees of York County to help them maintain their certification and not have to travel so far to get those credits that they need to maintain their certification. We also do plant soil diagnostics out of our office, and that's a free service to the people that come in. We have demonstration gardens, and some of the things that could happen if Poquoson did come back into the extension family are consultation with city departments that are interested in maybe changing a planting or need some help with some, like I said, pesticide certification training, things like that. We do a lot of consultation with York County departments currently. We can also consult with you. I'm sure you all are well aware of this total maximum daily load situation that's coming from the EPA. Right now, they're in the process of determining what the localities, which in this case, City of Poquoson's daily load is, and then they're going to come to you and say, what are you going to do about it? And one of the things, an extension that we can do is educate people at least on how to reduce that maximum daily load, and hopefully that'll eventually show the state that there is progress being made to reduce that. We also have 4-H, which in our program, because we don't have a 4-H agent per se, our big thrust is 4-H camp, which we take 180 kids to the Jamestown 4-H Center for a week of camp. And the focus on our camp is really about youth development and making good citizens. So we do focus on that through the camp program, plus we do train team counselors to be in charge of some of the kids and help us run that camp. We also have a counselor and training program through camp. We do some in-school SOL-focused programming and education. As an example, Wednesday I'm going into elementary school in York County to teach the kids about plants, and I'll be spending all day doing that, so we can offer some of that as well. FCS, or Family Consumer Sciences and Community Viability, could offer things like food preservation clinics, financial management workshops, or things we could bring to the City of Poquoson. We have Family Nutrition Programming, which is a federal program that is run by Extension. Community Viability does offer things like farmers market management training and also facilitation skills training, so teaching people how to facilitate meetings and be a group leader. Really, the thing that I want to drive home to with Extension is that volunteers are the key to our philosophy and our mission. Without our volunteers, we just wouldn't be able to do what we do. We do have volunteers in 4-H and in horticulture. The primary volunteers in horticulture are the master gardeners. And really, the best thing about my organization, or the organization that I belong to, Virginia Cooperative Extension, is that we're very flexible. So in our localities, when things come up or there's new issues that come to light, we are resourceful and we have resources that we can work with the locality to hopefully solve some of those issues and be flexible and put ourselves into those roles where we're needed. I do want to provide you with my contact information. I have a card that I'll pass around to all of you so that if you have follow-up questions, you can certainly call me or email me, whatever you're most comfortable with. So I'll pass these around. And now I'd just like to open it up if you guys have questions that you'd like to ask me or any clarification on any of our programs.
I had a question. I thought it was the extension office that worked with animal husbandry. Am I wrong on that? We have a lot of backyard chicken keepers.
We do. We have worked with those folks in the past. I know there's a group on the peninsula, Peninsula, PAC. They're not a part of Extension, but there are certainly Extension folks that are involved in that group as some of the volunteers. But we help them out. We also have programming in those arenas as well.
Okay. Do you have a feel in the past when we were members, how many people in Poquoson took advantage of that?
Of the service as a whole, I don't have that information. I think it's been long enough from what I can tell that a lot of those records aren't readily available. But a lot of the programs that we have going in York County currently would be very easy to, hold here in Poquoson, so it's more accessible to citizens. So, like our lawn clinics, for example, we do several of those every year. It'd be very simple for us to do a couple in the city.
I know Buddy with the Master Gardeners, the one that I know, the only reason they got into the program was there were standbys, and there was an opening for them. That's why they filled the slots. I don't know how far back it goes that we dropped out of New York County. I was talking to Dan, he mentioned, I think, at one of the work sessions we talked about monies and how the cost now is like 6,000?
I think the number was 7,500.
7,500, and how 5 years ago or so, when I talked to his predecessor, it was somewhere in the 60s. And that was basically because they were better staffed back then, and we were paying, I think, more for staffing of the office. I guess the same way we do with the court system, sheriff's office in New York. We also had a lot of, back when I talked to him, we had a lot of youth during the 4-H program that served as volunteer leaders. And I don't know how that stands up now, whether we still have those folks go out there and participate.
For the programming we have, as far as the youth leaders for these groups, it's all in York County now. And the way we do run things now is that programs that have limited number of attendees come, we do give preference to York County. And then we open it up to pretty much anybody else. And usually that is filled by city of Poquoson citizens. But this would change that so that there was no preference and no waiting list for those folks.
Are we alone as a city, in not participating with extension services? In other words, is Hampton in, Newport News in?
Yeah, Hampton does have an office. Newport News. There's a handful of cities across the state that don't put into extension. West Point is probably the closest one, but every locality in Hampton Roads does have a extension office except for Poquoson.
Is there any limitations to if we? And I guess this is really more of a question for inside, but if we do it, fund it in partnership with commercial businesses or something like that, as long as the money passes through the city, I'm assuming it makes no difference. Shouldn't?
Yeah, I mean, that's a question I'd have to ask my supervisor, but we're pretty flexible as far as how that would all work if it came to that. So. Okay,
and then finally, I think the thing that brought it here, we had a meeting with master gardeners that had qualified. And I think what and I may have this incorrect, but I'm going to ask you the way that I think that it was presented to me, which was they're qualified as a master gardener, but because Poquoson doesn't participate in the Virginia Cooperative Extension, that they're not able to give advice as a master gardener.
That's partially correct. They can certainly talk to their neighbors and things like that, but we don't hold programs here in Poquoson. We do have master gardeners, but when they volunteer, they are volunteering in York County. So certainly if they run into somebody in the grocery store, there's nothing to say they can't give some advice. But
are you saying a master gardener from Poquoson, he can give official classes or whatever in York County, but they can't do it here in Poquoson?
That's correct. Yeah.
Not as a master gardener.
No, we can't have extent. Basically, when a master gardener does if you ran into a master gardener at the grocery store and they said, I'm telling you this as a master gardener, this is official, they are doing that under the guise of extension. So basically what that means is we don't have extension programming in the city of Poquoson.
Any other questions? Like I said, I know this is coming up the subject of a separate discussion outside of the budget, and there were good reasons for that, but it was a commitment of council to study it, and we will bring it up, I guess, once the other two councilmen get back, see what we can do with as far as a public-private partnership, and see how council feels about moving forward or not forward on this. But okay with the council that's represented here this evening? Okay.
All right, thanks again for having me tonight.
Thank you for coming and sharing with us. It was very enlightening.
I'm happy to do it.
Thanks.
Thank you, Dan.
Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Mayor, the other work session, which will also likely be short. Yeah, Kevin, I think, is going to be the chief presenter for the staff. You'll recall a couple months ago we made some changes to our ordinances pertaining to alternative parking techniques, pervious pavement, and they said they would go back and work to sort of flesh out those definitions and also to make sure that they were aligned in all the different ordinances that we had, and Kevin has been spearheading that with Planning Commission, is here to summarize that to you in anticipation of a work session, a public hearing on these changes next month.
Thank you, Randy. If you recall, back in February, we brought a slew of zoning ordinance changes, primarily related to pervious surfaces. And one of those was held up at the council level because Planning Commission wanted us to revisit it, as well as define what pervious surface is. So we've defined it, and we have four ordinance amendments across the site plan, zoning, and subdivision ordinances. We will be defining pervious surface in all of them, and we'll define it as follows. A covering or soil treatment that allows stormwater runoff to infiltrate into the soil below. Pervious surfaces must be designed in accordance with all applicable VDOT and Virginia water quality standards and specifications, and in accordance with good engineering practice and industry standards. Those are three of your ordinance amendments right there: site plan, subdivision, and zoning. And in the site plan, additionally, we had a suggestion at the planning commission level to, while they liked that we were including the allowance of pervious and permeable surfaces in commercial parking areas, they also wanted a maintenance provision, as the permeability of these surfaces lends themselves to needing maintenance more regularly than impervious surfaces, as they get clogged with dirt and whatnot. So we added just one additional line, sentence to this, and this is the original language. Pervious and or permeable surfaces may be used upon the approval of the city engineer. And then we took that one step farther. Additionally, the submittal and approval of a perpetual maintenance agreement shall be required prior to the installation of any pervious surface. That satisfied Planning Commission. They've recommended all these ordinance changes unanimously last month. And how we would handle the perpetual maintenance agreement is either at the site plan level. They notate on a site plan, and we'll do similar to what we do with BMP structures. Annually, we will make sure that they are give us a maintenance schedule, and we will check up on them for that. So these are very straightforward, and then they will come to you, I believe, next month for public hearing. Or
Next meeting.
Next meeting.
Yeah.
Next meeting for
Next
public hearing.
Yes,
And
sir.
so basically, to the people watching at home and all sorts of stuff, pervious surfaces would include gravel. Give us some examples. What are in our definitions?
A pervious, it would not include gravel, how we've defined it,
Okay.
because we need a dust-free surface.
Okay.
However, we understand that it's an industry that's growing, so we wanted to kind of be ahead of the ball, and we didn't want to exclude anything right off the bat, exception being gravel, because it's not dust-free. So right now, it's really in our city engineer's hands. We get a proposal, and she'll look at it. If she finds it acceptable and up to industry standards, we'll work with it.
Suppose a business wanted to put in that type of surface, and they had no idea what was good. Could they come to the city engineer or to you and say, what will satisfy this particular kind of surface?
Absolutely.
Do you have a list of
Or the
things that they could
extension.
use?
Absolutely,
Yes.
absolutely. We definitely have our opinions about it, and
I'm sure
Ellen's
that'd be
probably the
helpful.
resident expert on it.
Okay.
I had one question about the definition, and it's along the same lines of what Jean mentioned. The definition, as I read it, could mean simply gravel or grass or anything that drains water. So I didn't know if I think I might have been the one who was concerned initially with the maintenance and the definitions of this. Do we want to create a new definition of something other than just pervious surface? Because your front yard is pervious. It is the word surface what? I mean, I don't know whether this is enough.
That's something we certainly have not thought of at this point. We could break it down for pervious surface.
Man-made
and then do maybe
Just
pervious asphalt.
Here's I guess what, I kind of tailing in on what Dr. Bernal has asked here, I just want to make sure that we know what surfaces that we're willing to accept and in what applications.
Right.
I would think that it's a matter of law for city council to approve the use of pervious surfaces and a matter of the staff to define what are acceptable pervious surfaces in a clear-cut and succinct handout that can be, like you said, it's an evolving technology, and we want to be able to keep the list up to speed. And I would see that as within the capability of the staff.
I think, Gene, I think that the part of the statement that says all applicable VDOT and Virginia Water Quality Standards and specifications and in accordance with good engineering practice and industry standards, that's pretty well nailed it. You know, if they come here and propose just grass or parking surface, it's not gonna fly. Because it's gotta be engineered, it's gotta support a certain amount of weight. So I think we've got it covered there, and it's like Kevin said, this is something that changes almost daily. They're always coming up with new pavements, new designs, and I think if you tie yourself down now, it just seems like to me that's going to be a real burden on the staff to try to keep up with all this stuff.
Right now, porous concrete and open cell pavers are the leading trend for parking lots. They can only be really used in parking spaces or the open cell pavers because their weight, they're not engineered to handle the weight of tractor trailers and
Gotcha.
large vehicles. So we still require, you know, our standard old concrete for the travel areas. So we just need some flexibility in allowing different designs and different parking spots to allow some stormwater management credit, but, you know, also keep in mind that we also have to have a dust-free surfaces.
Agreed. I just don't want somebody to be able to come and say, well, it says pervious surfaces are allowed. I want to put down grass or gravel or something. So if this works for you and you think we're.
I think Randy had
it's
a
fine with me.
suggestion here.
Partially in response to what you said, Mrs. Crawford, if you inserted the word parking before the word surface in the definition, you'd be clear that this is the only surface that we're talking about as parking surface as opposed to a yard, as opposed to a throughway. And then I think what Mr. Green said, then those two match up real well. So a modification to include the word parking before surface in the definition in all three ordinances might clarify that point.
Which would work unless would there be any other use for these pervious surfaces that we can think of right off? Walking?
Sidewalks, maybe. I would think sidewalks would be a.
Yeah.
and
Sidewalks
trails.
potentially.
So. And I don't want to complicate it. If this works for you, it's fine with me. I just wanted to make sure we're covered and.
Well, sidewalks are not necessarily required within a development, except in subdivisions, thanks to Mr. Green. And we haven't really, now, if it's in a VDOT right-of-way, it's going to have to comply with VDOT standards. So I don't know that there'll be a whole lot of changes in the composition of material for sidewalks until VDOT is a little bit more flexible in what they allow.
Okay.
Kevin, one thing, that it's already in the existing wording, but I'm just wondering if you're trying to nail this down under item 6, under minimum off-street parking subsection. This parking areas, driveways, and entrances shall be surfaced with Portland cement or bituminous concrete. And I know the intent is that concrete word is to go with both of them, but to make it plainer, Portland cement is what you make the concrete from. It probably should say Portland cement concrete or bituminous concrete to make it clear.
Sure, and my understanding of it is that's more of a antiquated or so that we
Yeah.
can certainly adjust that and take advantage of this process to do so.
Okay. Anything else? So we'll see this next council meeting?
Yes,
Or a
sir.
public hearing? Is that right? Okay. All right. That's the close of this work session. I think I did. Okay, welcome to the City Council meeting of Monday, May the 14th. We'd all rise. I have an invocation and pledge of allegiance. Heavenly Father, thank you for this day and for the many blessings we have received within our city. We ask for your guidance as we deliberate the issues before us tonight and help us to recognize the importance of each individual, keeping us mindful of those in need. Tonight, we especially ask for your blessing and peace be felt by those who serve our country and our public service employees who serve our state and city. Guide them and protect their families as they protect all of us. Amen. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Tonight we have a series of special presentations, and we'll start with Community Day. Kathy, if you'll come up to the podium. Is there a microphone there tonight? Yes. And tell us about Community Day, the upcoming Community Day on May 19th.
Do I need the microphone?
If you want people at home to hear you, yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Is this good? Okay. I'm Kathy Abel Nelson, a Poquoson merchant. As president of the Poquoson Business Alliance, I'm here this evening to promote the PBA Community Day, first annual, this Saturday from 10 until 2 p.m., and to thank the city of Poquoson for its guidance and assistance in pulling together all the components needed to hopefully make this day a successful one. Our past spring open house events were put on to promote city shops. This year, we wanted to focus on community service, in particular, the school budget initiative. After meeting with the Poquoson Education Foundation, we decided to have a street festival, including our civic groups and churches, with the goal of contributing to the Education Foundation. To that end, we met with the mayor and with the city manager to gain their endorsement and guidance and resources. This Saturday will be our first annual With Creek Road Festival and will include the Kiwanis Pig Roast and many family-friendly activities. The event will be on Saturday from 10 to 2 along With Creek Road, from Victory Boulevard to close to Yorktown Road. The speed limit will be temporarily reduced to 25 miles an hour during those hours to encourage strolling along the boulevard and networking with local merchants and civic group participants. Postcards announcing this event, thank you, have been mailed to all the residents, and the weather should be beautiful, 70 degrees and breezy. Poquoson is a gracious volunteer community, and it's our hope that a successful community day will lead to more such festival events along with Creek Road. Our local merchants offer so much expertise and dedication to the right kind of growth, and with the endorsement and aid of our city, we hope to encourage a stronger bond of friendship and community with a goal that includes success and growth for every local business and every citizen. Thanks again. We hope you come out this Saturday and join us.
Thank you, Kathy. And let me say that all the hours that you put in addition to running your own business that you put into the Poquoson Business Alliance, the hat is off to you. It's something that pulls everybody together, and we're glad to help you with this.
Thank you.
Okay.
Poured on sleep.
Okay. All right, the next special presentation will come from two of our own. That's Miss Evie Inslee and Bodina Wright, and talk about the great success of the Great American Cleanup here in Poquoson.
Thank you, Council. Thank you, everyone at home. We are very excited to be here to speak on the Keep America Beautiful Bubba Style that went on this past weekend. As Ms. Kathy Abel said, the city of Poquoson is awesome when it comes to volunteers. We have been most pleased.
as Kathy said, it is the place to volunteer. And what we found out, it takes our city employees, our civic leagues, clubs, lots of civic leagues and clubs,
Pull that picture there, will you?
religious organizations, businesses, residents, donors and sponsors, to pick up, or it takes 108 volunteers to pick up 1.6 tons of debris, 22 tires, 15 unusable crab pots. It takes 108 volunteers to put down 60 yards of mulch, 40 yards of soil, 2 picnic tables, that's assemble and install, 2 picnic benches, 4 shrubs, 32 plants, flowers, 400 plus feet of rope, 9 new bollards, and 12 fence panels to make a park beautiful. And 2 very proud women to say thank you to the city of Poquoson.
Thank you very much. And as it quickly went by, I'm sure you saw several familiar faces on the pictures. Thank you to everyone. We couldn't have done it without you.
What a great job you two did. Keep this lined up and keep all of us coordinated, including myself, and all of these council volunteers to be where we should have been, when we were supposed to be there. But thank you. It would not have happened without you two. I can promise you that. Okay.
Mr. Mayor, one of the nice things I think is that the organizer who came from Norfolk said, Poquoson can never have enough volunteers to do this. We will send some people over to help you out. And Edie and Bodina said, not on your life. Poquoson residents can do it. And they did
sure
it.
did.
So, thank you all.
Well said, Frank. Well said. All right, Randy, the next one is for you, introduction of new employees.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would say, in reference to the last one, I learned a lot. I met some people I hadn't met, and I learned that a 47-year-old man can no longer pull a race car tire out of the muck all by himself. But the majority of those 22, I got out of the mud by myself. Not that one. I'm pleased to introduce to you, I thought we were going to have 2, but it turns out only 1 new employee, Ms. Doreen Smith. Doreen, if you'd come forward. Doreen joined us today in our finance office in the position of account analyst. She comes from us most recently from the Newport News Airport. We're very glad to have her, and I'm very glad to tell you that she is a resident of Poquoson. Doreen, anything you'd like to say?
Get through this moment in the spotlight here.
Oh, you'll have many.
Especially if we find out embarrassing.
I'm grateful for the position, and I find it to be an honor to work for the city that I live in. And nice to meet you all. Thank you very much.
We're looking forward to working with you, Doreen, and we welcome to the city of Poquoson, and we look forward to your services and working with you.
Thank you.
Okay? Thanks.
The other employee that I had hoped to introduce tonight, and we'll get him here soon enough, but I won't resist the urge to go 2 for 2. It's a gentleman named Scott Holloway. Many of you probably know him. He will be working with us in our fleet maintenance facility, and he also is a resident of Poquoson. That's the 2 for 2 part, and I didn't want to pass that up.
Okay.
Thanks for being here, Doreen.
Okay, next item on the agenda this evening is an audience for visitors. If there's anybody that would like to address council on any issue, now would be that time. Okay, seeing no people that want to address council, I'd move on to the approval of the minutes.
Mayor, move that we approve the minutes of the regular meeting of April 23rd, 2012.
Second?
Motion made and seconded that we approve the regular session meeting minutes of April 23rd. Vicki, please.
Who you?
What's your name?
Who you
He
again?
almost said Judy.
I almost did.
Councilwoman Crawford.
Aye.
Councilman Krieger.
Aye.
Councilman Bernal.
Aye.
Councilman Green.
Aye.
And Mayor Hunt.
Aye.
Mr. Mayor, the motion carried by a vote of 5-0.
Okay, thank you very much. And the work session?
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion that we approve the minutes of the work session also held on April 23rd, 2012.
Second.
A motion made and seconded that we approve those minutes also. Vicki, please.
Certainly. Councilman Bernal.
Aye.
Councilman Green.
Aye.
Councilman Krieger.
Aye.
Councilwoman Crawford.
Aye.
And Mayor Hunt.
Aye.
Mr. Mayor, the motion passed by a vote of 5-0.
Okay. And then with council's indulgence, I would like to reshape the agenda this evening, and I'll report to everybody at home that council's kind of limping this evening. Councilman Freeman had to go to D.C. On last-minute travel for Hampton University. Councilman Southall is home with his family due to personal situations, and at least one councilman is not feeling well this evening. So we're going to move to the budget, for the approval of the budget first, and then we're going to come back to the public hearing. So if you've come to speak for one of the public hearings, we appreciate you being here. We appreciate your indulgence as we go through unfinished business first, and then we will come back to those public hearings. With that said, Randy, you want to just highlight the budget that we've got before us this evening with all the recent changes, the refinancing and the like, so that everybody at home can hear the information before we move forward.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll do a general summary of the budget, and then I'll bring you up to date on some of the last-minute changes, that are all of which are reflected in the cover memo for the agenda item. With the budget before you this evening, this budget achieves many of our most basic but most important city goals and objectives. It maintains school funding, it matches and then exceeds the funding request for local support from our school system. The matching was part of the original recommended budget. The exceeds, as you see in paragraph 2 of the memo, we received some updated sales tax projections from the state once the budget had gone to bed in the amount of about $49,000, and the budget before you allocates $42,000 of that $49,000 to the school division. Also included is the 0.7% compensation adjustment that you discussed at your last work session that goes with the mandated state of Virginia requirement pertaining to VRS for employees. Also, the budget before you this evening further amends the recommended budget to reduce the boat tax from $1.50 per $100 of assessed valuation, from the original reduction from $150 to $135 to a further reduction of $120. But these are important details, but the larger story of this budget is that with this budget, assuming that you act favorably on it, we have maintained our core government services. We have met and exceeded the school's request for us. We have made a significant step along our long-term financial plan, and this is the steps that ultimately had a large bearing on our recent bond upgrade. As council will recall, we recently received quite a favorable bond upgrade based on our work together the last several years and the work of all of the men and women that work for the city. And that in itself had a positive impact in terms of savings of more than $3.3 million compared to where we thought we were just as recently as February. There is one, as I said, the boat tax is a property tax rate going down. There are no proposed property tax rates going up. And to restate one more time, it does include a plan to bring all of our self-supporting funds into balance, with the exception of the general fund, and that imbalance has been dramatically reduced over our original planning projections, which at one point crested $2 million and are now closer to $500,000. And that's a short summary, and we'd be glad to go into it at any more length. There is, assuming that you remain comfortable with the changes outlined in paragraph 1 of the memo, which again came directly from your last work session, and assuming that you accept the modifications contained in the second paragraph, which pertains most specifically to the additional funding for schools, then the remaining issue, and of course all issues are open for council discussion, but the remaining issue that you've not yet discussed as a council pertains to recent revisions upward to our meals tax revenue, both in terms of strong performance of our traditional restaurants, and also taking into account in the last several months we have had a Wendy's open, a Surf's Up open, a Surf Rider open, all of which are doing well. That last bundle of strong performance plus additions, we believe could give you an additional resource in terms of revenue of up to $60,000. As presented to you in the budget, that simply reduces the amount of fund balance in the budget. That's an assumption, of course, which you're free to amend as you think is appropriate.
Okay, and I think Randy did a great job summarizing. The one thing I want to make clear is that there was one tax that increased, and that was two, and that would have been the cigarette tax.
Yes, sir. This budget included two tax increases, not property tax increases, but first was a 0.5% increase in the meals tax from 5.5% to 6%, and also a 15-cent increase in the cigarette tax from 10 cents per pack to 25 cents per pack. Both of those two changes were proposed to provide ongoing funding for schools.
Okay. All right. And with that as a background, does the council have any questions or comments about what's contained in what's before you this evening? And if not, is anybody prepared to start the process of moving through this?
Mr. Mayor, I move that we adopt a resolution approving the adoption of the proposed FY 2012-13 annual financial plan for the city of Poquoson, Virginia, with one change in section 2, paragraph D, that the watercraft levy be changed to 75 cents instead of $1.20.
Second? With the change in place?
Okay. Second, motion made and seconded that we adopt the resolution with the change on the boat levy, reducing it from $1.20 to 75 cents. Questions, comments?
I'd like to address the amendment. I disagree with the amendment or the request for change. I think that reducing it to 75 cents is sending the wrong message to our citizens. I do agree that we need to reduce the boat tax, and this is a boating community, and I would like to see it dropped. But I think the city manager brought us a budget that reduced it by 10%, and then we agreed to reduce it by 20%, and to now increase that to 50% is, I think, moving too quickly. I would like to see us wait until next year to reduce it further than the $1.20 that we have here, especially in light of the fact that we're increasing cigarette taxes. I would just as soon see the cigarette tax not increased by 15%, but maybe 10 cents instead, because that is going to affect our small businesses, Sheffield's and Back River Market, and the one down near Hampton, the Hampton border. And I don't want to cause problems for one industry by trying to help another one. So that's my thoughts on that.
Okay.
Well, I think the reasoning behind, at least for me, to reduce it by half is threefold. One, to help our working watermen who have been overregulated and underpaid for years. They can't even afford the insurance policy to dock on the Messick Point piers that we built. Possibly by reducing this by 50%, they can afford the insurance policies. The other thing is, like Tracy said, this is a waterfront community. Our heritage is the waterfront. And I think that by reducing it to 50% sends a clear message to the two businesses that are trying to get established at Messick Point and at the marina. They have very positive intentions from large manufacturers and boat brokers to locate here, build offices here, which would bring employment and bring a lot of business that we will gain tremendous tax benefit from. Plus, if those businesses do come here, and like I say, it's a very strong intention that they will, it will also help the auxiliary businesses of a fine repair facility. That's something that's definitely lacking in the city. There's not a repair facility that has a certified mechanic on any engine. With the presence of the brokers and the manufacturers, it will certainly bring certified mechanics to our area, and we will, again, collect taxes on all the repairs. So I think it's a smart move. I think it's a move that tells these major businesses that we support them.
Okay. Any other questions or comments?
I'd just like to say, I don't disagree with you entirely. I just think the timing is not right. I would like to see us stick with the 20% decrease this year with an intent to decrease it to 75 cents, or which would be 50% next year. I'd be willing to entirely remove the working waterman's fees right now. We could do that. And if that's who we're trying to help, I think that that's who needs the most help, and I'd be happy to do that. But I don't see, I just don't like the signal this is sending. I think it's the wrong time. So that's all and I know what the votes are going to be, so we can move on.
Well, you never know what the votes will be.
Well, okay.
So, but
I can guess.
I'm sure that the illusion sometimes is there of where people are. What I will tell you is I'm very proud of this council. I'm very proud of the fact that we worked on this budget together for a year. And basically the hurdle that we've been through to close this $2 million, what we started with, a $2 million budget nightmare, has become a budget where we have protected the homeowners, we have protected the schools, we have protected the intention all along to help the boating community, including the working watermen. And some of these things at the last minute are always just I won't call them a guess, but an educated guess as to what is the right thing to do. And I would tell you that the boat tax is one of those. The cigarette tax is another. What I'll also remind council is that there's another source of money on the paper that's not appropriated. So, you know, there is opportunity here if council deems it necessary to not do, to reduce our dependency on cigarette tax. So is there any way that we can bring both of those together? What would the reduction in cigarette tax back to, what did you ask for?
Well, anything less than what it is. I mean, it's at 10. If we could raise it by only 10 rather than 15, maybe then keep the watercraft at $1 rather than 75 cents. That would, is that about right, Graham? I'm thinking I think it's.
Why don't we just say it this way? If you leave the boat tax at 75 cents and you reduce the cigarette tax.
Cigarette tax was $30,000 for every 5 cents, roughly.
Okay, so
was the estimate, and the boat tax was, I don't remember,
okay,
14,000 for every 10
Half of it would only be $70,000.
I didn't hear that.
Half the boat tax equates to $70,000.
Right.
Okay.
So it's $70,000 plus $30,000, and I'm just wondering if that makes any difference to you as we proceed forward, so it can be unified.
None of this is a deal breaker for me. We have an excellent budget. I think we all worked hard on it, and I commend Randy for bringing it to us. So I'm going to vote yes on the budget. I just don't like the boat tax being reduced this fast.
Okay.
So I just need to register that.
Okay. Well, with that said, we have a motion made and seconded.
Okay.
But
I have feelings on that the boat tax, well, seconded, should be 75 cents, but I also have a feeling that by charging 25-cent tax on cigarettes, we're going to hurt, as Tracy said, the businesses that rely very heavily on cigarettes. And I think optimistic in what we expect to get in revenue. People, I think, are going to be going to York County in droves to buy cigarettes, who normally come from Hampton to Poquoson, they'd go there. I could support a 20-cent cigarette tax, which would be an increase of 10 cents.
And would cost us about?
30,000, other than what?
About 25,000.
About 25,000. Okay? So, just looking for basically the consensus of an entire council. I'm just wondering if we can get a little bit of everything that everybody's looking for.
Well, the cigarette tax is not a part of this motion.
Okay.
That's a separate thing, and I would support a lesser increase in the cigarette tax for the same reason Tracy said. I think we are going to hurt at least a couple of businesses here that depend heavily on the sale of cigarettes. And with the gas prices going down, she's exactly right. They're going to drive to York County.
I think we're all recognizing that. Randy, does this make any changes to what we're getting ready? To my knowledge, it does a little bit.
If you can do this one of two ways. You can continue and vote on the motion that's on the floor, or you can, if the person that made the motion and the second agrees to a friendly amendment to further reduce this, you could handle it that way. In either case, if you do not designate either a reduction in expense or a new revenue source for the 30, then the end result is we will adjust the amount of fund balance that's going in above our guideline level to support the budget. So that's sort of the default unless you do it any other way.
I'm making everybody a little more comfortable.
But the cigarette tax is not.
It's separate. It's a separate issue.
In this.
Well, the fund.
I will agree that we will reduce the cigarette tax when we get to it, but that's not part of this motion or this resolution.
Okay. And I think what Randy's saying, I think we're all saying the same thing. He's basically saying that it is a revenue source for this resolution, but so is the unappropriated fund balance, and it would just reverse that.
Right.
Okay? Right. And as long as we are all on the same page there, then I think everybody's getting a little bit of what they're looking to protect as core businesses, right?
Right.
Okay. So did we revise the motion?
I don't think so.
No revision of the motion. Okay. All right. Vicki, please.
You're voting on the amendment, right?
We're voting on the resolution
With, as amended.
as amended, which is,
You haven't voted on the amendment yet.
There is no amendment.
Well, there is no amendment.
Not doing that yet.
The cigarette tax is not part of this
No, I'm
part of
talking
it.
about you changed the resolution.
As he introduced it.
right.
It wasn't an amendment. Okay, I follow.
Gotcha.
You're right. You
Thanks
changed
for
it.
trying
You
to keep us
changed it on the
straight.
introduction.
We're having a
In
hard
the
time.
motion.
Okay.
Just a motion. Ready to go.
Vicki, please.
Certainly. Councilman Bernal.
Aye.
Councilman Green.
Aye.
Councilman Krieger.
Aye.
Councilwoman Crawford.
Aye.
And Mayor Hunt.
Aye.
Mr. Mayor, the motion carried by a vote of 5-0.
Okay. Thank you very much. And now the ordinance to appropriate the funds.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion that we adopt an ordinance to appropriate funds to the various governmental funds of the city of Poquoson, Virginia for FY 2012 through 2013.
Second.
Okay, motion made and seconded. I'm just looking through here for which one we've got to pick up the decrease in the cigarette tax. And it's not this one.
It's its own ordinance.
It's
Okay.
down there at the bottom.
If you do that,
Gotcha.
then we'll handle the
So
rest.
so we're clear? Okay. Vicki, please.
Certainly. Councilman Krieger.
Aye.
Councilwoman Crawford.
Aye.
Councilman Green.
Aye.
Councilman Bernal.
Aye.
And Mayor Hunt.
Aye.
Mr. Mayor, the motion carried by a vote of 5-0.
Okay. Next one is an ordinance to lay a 92-cent levy on real estate.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we adopt an ordinance to lay a 92-cent levy per 100 assessed value on all real estate in the city of Poquoson, Virginia for the general operation of the various departments of the city government.
Very well stated. Is there a second? I hope there's a second to this.
Second.
Thank you. Hello. Okay, thank you. And Vicki, please.
Well, I have a comment, Mr. Mayor. I'm against the fees that come up later, and I would have rather seen a 2-cent or 3-cent increase in real estate for the city. So I'm going to probably vote against this one and also the fees that come up later. I think we're kidding ourselves if we can walk away from here tonight when we increase the fees and say that there's been no increase in the real estate tax to the city. It equals about 3-cent increase.
Okay.
So that's.
Certainly.
But,
Councilman Green?
Aye.
Councilman Bernal?
Aye.
Councilman Krieger?
no.
Councilwoman Crawford?
Aye.
Mayor Hunt?
Aye.
Mr. Mayor, the motion carried by a vote of 4-1.
Okay. And the next one is an ordinance to lay a $4.15 levy on personal property, $1.50 on private land camping trailers, and 92-cent levy on vehicles without motive power. Is there a motion?
Mr. Mayor, I move that we adopt an ordinance to lay a $4.15 levy on all personal property, a 75-cent levy on all watercraft, a $1.50 levy on all privately owned camping trailers and motorhomes, and a 92-cent levy on all vehicles without motive power used or designed to be used as manufactured homes in the city of Poquoson, Virginia, for the general operations of various departments of the city government.
Okay.
Second.
Okay, motion made and seconded, and that's fine.
Clarify that the watercraft rate is 75?
75.
Okay, gotcha. Okay.
So we'll change that.
All right, motion made and seconded, stays the same. Watercraft reduces to 75 cents. Okay, Vicki, please.
Councilwoman Crawford?
With the same reservations, yes.
Okay. Councilman Krieger?
Aye.
Councilman Bernal?
Aye.
Councilman Green?
Aye.
And Mayor Hunt?
Aye.
Mr. Mayor, the motion carried by a vote of 5-0.
Thank you very much. The next one is an ordinance amending the Code of Ordinances of the City of Poquoson pertaining to sewer service charges. Is there a motion?
Mr. Mayor, I move that we adopt an ordinance amending the Code of Ordinances of the City of Poquoson, Virginia by revising Chapter 82, Article 2, Section 82-40B pertaining to sewer service charges.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion made and seconded that we amend the Code of Ordinances on sewer charges. Did you want to make a statement here, Frank?
No, what I said before holds.
Okay,
that
all right.
Not in favor of
Vicki,
fees.
please.
Certainly. Councilman Bernal?
Aye.
Councilman Green?
Aye.
Councilman Krieger?
No.
Councilwoman Crawford?
Aye.
And Mayor Hunt?
Aye.
Mr. Mayor, the motion carried by a vote of 4-1.
Okay, and ordinance amending the Code of Ordinances of the City of Poquoson, revising Chapter 66, Article 2, Section 66, Tac 42, pertaining to the collection of charges. And this is for the Solid Waste Fund.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and seconded that we approve that ordinance. Questions or comments? Hearing none, do you have one?
Oh, this is a real sore spot for me because I stood up and stood for the green bags many years ago, before I was here, actually, as a council person. And so I dislike this intensely. However, I do recognize that gas has gone up, and that alone pretty much requires some increase. So I do see the need for the increase, and I will vote for it with very strong unhappiness.
Okay. Vicki, please.
Certainly. Councilman Krieger?
No.
Councilwoman Crawford?
Aye.
Councilman Green?
Aye.
Councilman Bernal?
Aye.
And Mayor Hunt?
Aye.
Mr. Mayor, the motion carried by a vote of 4-1.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm going to try to miss one here.
Cigarette taxes.
Is that section 158? Oh, no, here we are, cigarette tax. We are on an ordinance amending the Code of Ordinances of the City of Poquoson, Virginia, revising Chapter 74, Article 11, Section 74, 446, pertaining to the cigarette tax. Is there a motion? Would you like to make the motion reducing it?
Go ahead, buddy. Buddy always makes the motion. It's his job.
Mr. Mayor, I move we adopt an ordinance amending the Code of Ordinances of the City of Poquoson, Virginia by revising Chapter 74, Article 11, Section 74-446 pertaining to the cigarette tax, with the change being to
20 cents.
20 cents
I believe is what
for
we do.
each.
20
Agree with that?
20 cigarettes.
How about seconding it?
Hey, that's what I wasn't sure about. Did you
That's
want it
fine.
less, did you want it less than that?
I do, but the math doesn't work out if we do that. I also want the garbage fees lower, but there's math involved, so.
Okay.
So I'll second the motion.
Motion made and seconded that we approve the ordinance amending the Code of Ordinances on the cigarette tax, reducing the rate from 25 cents proposed to 20 cents.
Mr. Mayor, I will vote for this, but I will tell you, I have a personal vendetta against cigarettes. And if raising the tax even higher would prevent one kid from picking one up, I'd vote for it.
I understand, sir. I understand. Vicki, please.
Certainly. Councilman Green?
Aye.
Councilman Vernal?
Aye.
Councilman Krieger?
Aye.
Councilwoman Crawford?
Aye.
And Mayor Hunt?
Aye.
Mr. Mayor, the motion carried by a vote of 5-0.
Okay, next ordinance is an ordinance amending the Code of Ordinances of the City of Poquoson, revising Chapter 38, Article 11, Section 38 through 158 on imposition of fees.
Mr. Mayor, make a motion that we adopt an ordinance amending the Code of Ordinances of the City of Poquoson, Virginia by revising Chapter 38, Article 6, Section 38-158 pertaining to the imposition of fees.
Is there a second? Second?
I'll second that one, too.
Okay. Motion made and seconded that we proceed with the imposition of fees ordinance. Vicki, please.
Certainly. Councilwoman Crawford?
Aye.
Councilman Krieger? I'm sorry.
I was going to have some questions.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh,
I'm sorry. Can we,
Sorry, you made the motion. I thought we were just going. Okay.
oh,
Go ahead.
Randy,
Yes.
the fees, are these fees all covered through our policy with the company that
Yes, sir.
deals with it?
Yes, sir.
So surrounding areas are also going up like this?
The decision on what fee to come up with is a locality by locality decision. This fee structure is consistent with that of Hampton, consistent or below that of Hampton and Newport News.
And nothing else, and the insurance that people have will still cover the increase?
There is
Or
no change
whatever
to
they
that.
cover, we won't charge them beyond that?
You're absolutely
And those who
correct.
have no insurance still won't have to pay anything?
Absolutely correct.
Okay.
We have one of the most comprehensive billing policies, perhaps the most comprehensive approach that our billing company's ever seen in terms of our constantly getting the word out to people so they understand how our program works. And none of the mechanics of the program changes.
Sorry about that.
No, you're fine. I'm sorry. I'm sorry to have moved on.
Since it's comment section, I'm going to vote against this because I've been against this since day one, having unfortunately been through 2 traumatic experiences in my life that I would never want to go through again or have anybody go through. I will tell you that during those 2 times, I paid bills without even looking at them because I didn't want the hassle of sending it to the insurance company because I just didn't want to deal with it. And I'm afraid that we have citizens that will be in that boat, especially senior citizens who get a bill, have always paid their bills on time, don't want to be labeled as not paying their bills. They will see this bill, they will pay it, and never know that they don't have to. So I've been against this since day one.
Am I not correct that the bill does not come directly to you? It goes through the insurance company?
You need to get a bill, and it says at the bottom, this is not a bill, but you do get.
Because I had some too, I know. But
Okay. Any other questions or comments? Now we have a motion made and seconded, I believe, and we are ready to take a vote.
Certainly.
Vicki, please.
Councilwoman Crawford?
Aye.
Councilman Krieger?
Aye.
Councilman Vernal?
Aye.
Councilman Green?
No.
Mayor Hunt?
Aye.
Mayor, the motion carried by a vote of 4-1.
Okay. And finally, an ordinance amending the Code of Ordinances of the City of Poquoson where it pertains to a meals tax and the rate increase from 5.5 to 6% in accordance with the initial budget. Is there a motion?
Mr. Mayor, make a motion that we adopt an ordinance amending the Code of Ordinances of the City of Poquoson, Virginia by revising Chapter 74, Article 10, Section 74-392 pertaining to the levy of meals tax.
Second.
Okay, motion made and seconded that we proceed with the ordinance on the meals tax. Any questions or comments? Vicki, please.
Certainly. Councilman Vernal?
Aye.
Councilman Green?
Aye.
Councilman Krieger.
Aye.
Councilwoman Crawford.
Aye.
And Mayor Hunt.
Aye.
Mayor Hunt, the motion carried by a vote of 5-0.
Okay, thank you very much. While we're still here in, well, no, that's unfinished business. I think that covered everything in unfinished business. Let's move back in the agenda, back to public hearings section. And Randy, if the first public hearing, if you'd announce it, and
Mr. Mayor, without objection, I would propose, since the first 3 of your 4 public hearings all pertain to the same property and the same applicant, that Mr. Wine, who is going to be presenting for us, go ahead and do one presentation that covers all 3 facets, and then, of course, we would proceed individually with the public hearings, but rather than do 3 3 staff reports, the first 3 to combine it into one, if that's acceptable to the
I
council.
think I'm seeing a lot of head nods.
Yep. Kevin, please come forward. Kevin, by the way, has bought a house in Poquoson, and he will be moving in a couple of weeks.
All right. It's true. Very excited. All right, as Randy mentioned, the first 3 are tied, and this is the exact same presentation that was presented to you at your work session last month. The first public hearing will be for a comprehensive plan amendment, map amendment, to redesignate property, 3 parcels fronting on Alpha Street behind Langley Federal Credit Union, immediately adjacent to the regional stormwater management pond. It's a split designated currently, it's village commercial and general commercial. The property owner would like to make this solely village commercial. And here's the land use map throughout the city, the properties we're speaking of. In this area, right there. Here's it zoomed in. You can see where it's split designated right now. Where gray meets purple. The gray is village commercial, the purple is general commercial. And this is dependent, if this doesn't happen, the following public hearings cannot happen. The rezoning request, which is next year. Presently, 2 of the parcels are zoned general commercial, exact same parcels, and the one south of those is zoned B2, business commercial. And there you can see where it's almost in half there. And once it's rezoned to village commercial, they can file the conditional use permit for the properties. And ultimately, they plan to, I spoke with the applicant earlier. Originally, they had planned to ask for 4 structures on this property, informed me that they only need 3. It would be 3 mixed-use developments, structures, commercial on the bottom floor, residential on the second floor, and the conditional use permit would kick in on that 3rd floor. That would be utilized as multifamily residential. Here's a general concept. I'm under the understanding that this has changed pretty drastically. This is what they gave us early in the process. You can see 3 structures with parking area that would meet zoning ordinance requirements. This is Stony Creek, Stony Run in Newport News, in the Denby area. The vision that the developer has is very similar to this. This is what he would like to instill in that area of Alpha Street, which would be a gateway in to our village commercial district from With Creek Road. These are the potential conditions, and I went through these very thoroughly during the work session last month. There are some changes, and I believe Vicki gave y'all earlier tonight the changes. They're highlighted in yellow. One change was suggested by our city attorney, Mr. Moore. Condition 5, that the conditional use permit is for the establishment of residential uses on the third floor. If at any time a portion of the third floor of each of the proposed structures is not utilized for residential purposes, the conditional use permit shall be null and void. Simple language change here. The phrase "at least" was removed from that yellow highlighted wording. And secondly, condition 6, you can see here, the development shall not yield any more than 12 dwelling units per acre. This used to be a lower, however, staff has discussed dwelling units per acre yield is discussed in the comp plan and in the zoning ordinance, as is. And we felt we shouldn't deviate from that. 12 units per acre is allowed for mixed-use development. Figured that holding the developer accountable there would be more than sufficient. However, that's, of course, open for discussion. Lastly, 2 new conditions which stemmed from the work session. Number 9 just states that the development will utilize the city's stormwater management pond. And condition 10 talks about references traffic impacts. And if at any time traffic impacts resulting from said development create demand that exceeds the capabilities of the existing transportation network, the developer shall, at his or her expense, have a traffic impact assessment conducted by a licensed transportation engineer and shall provide mitigation in accordance with the findings of said study. That's something that staff thought was necessary after the last work session. And that sums up very briefly, those 3 parcels. Once again, it's individual public hearings for each, but each are dependent on one another. So I can answer any questions you have.
Yeah, I have one. I think I've asked this before, but I'm still not sure that it is 100% clear. Number 5, if at any time a portion of the third floor of each of the proposed structure is not utilized for residential purposes, etc., at any time, that says to me from the day that the door opens, it hasn't been rented or sold, or there's got to be some flexibility there, because if it's a rental property, it could come and go, and there could be a time when somebody wouldn't be using it for residential purposes.
That may be how it reads, but for the intention and for zoning purposes, if it's constructed as such, means they would have to get building permits to bring it to a residential grade.
Okay.
We would approve those building permits, and it would be for that purpose. So granted, it's even if it's not even if it's vacant at the time.
Okay, if it's for that purpose, that satisfies.
If it's for that purpose, if they come in, and the way this is worded, I think covers this. If at any time they change that to a commercial grade, a mercantile grade, then this provision would kick in.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Other questions?
I have some. On number 6, 12 dwelling units per acre. I'm thinking particularly of the townhomes over maybe Charles Parish Drive. What is that zoned at?
That zone multifamily R3, so it's held to that same 12-acre standard.
It is 12 over there.
It may be, at the time it may have been, and Debbie, you could elaborate on this, it may have been built at 8. Do you recall it was 12? It was 12, okay, so it was 12.
I just want to make sure it's not more
than
that.
No.
Okay. And on number 9, the use of the pond, that was the reason the pond was built for this, so that's not a problem. I do have a question about number 10, whether we get to determine that the said development creates demand that exceeds the capabilities of the existing network. I'm not sure, is that enforceable, Wayne? If we just say there's suddenly a demand, who's to determine that before this traffic study? I like the purpose behind it. I agree with it. I just want to make sure that we can say, okay, we think that there's too much, without them saying, no, there isn't.
Well, at this time, back in September, you all voted to approve some village commercial measures. And in the village commercial measures, one of the amendments included wording, and this is off the top of my head, so bear with me, but any traffic impacts shall be mitigated by the developer. Very open-ended. And this is kind of just bringing that to the forefront. From a staff level, how we would handle this is we get complaints. Traffic has obviously increased. This develops new. Go do a traffic impact assessment and investigate. Once it's investigated, we can see if it's a result of your development, and then we can take care of it as such.
I think the question is, who is going to make the determination
That the traffic
that has occurred? It doesn't tell you who makes, I mean, the implication is that the city will make that determination, but it doesn't say that. It says that if at any time traffic impacts resulting from said development create demand, but it doesn't say who determines if that condition has occurred.
Okay.
I just want to make it clear that we can say, we decide now, go do a traffic study, and that would hold water. So whatever wording needs to be fixed on that.
Well, I mean, obviously, you would add in that is determined by the city of Poquoson.
Okay.
That's the determining factor.
That's fine.
Okay.
So after the word resulting from said development, I would think as determined by the city of Poquoson.
Fair enough. All right, I see some notes being taken on that. Any other questions or comments before we open the public hearings? Thank you, Kevin. All right. And with that said, we have a series of public hearings, 3 separate public hearings, all associated with the presentation that you just heard. I'll start those with the first public hearing is a request by Robert Moses, contract purchaser, and G. Curtis Daly, Sandra Graham, and John Graham, property owners, to amend the comprehensive plan for 2008 through 2028 by designating future land use for Poquoson tax map parcel 2710 TAC 4 and TAC 4A from general commercial to village commercial.
And 2710.
I'm sorry, and 27 TAC 10 TAC 3. I missed that one. So those 3 sections of the land use map, of the land use plan, and I'll open a public hearing if anybody's here to talk on this issue, either positively or negatively. Now is that time. Okay. Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. I'll ask for consideration by council.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we adopt a resolution approving an amendment to the future land use maps of the city's adopted comprehensive plan 2008 to 2028.
I'll second that, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, motion made and seconded that we approve the first request. Okay. Questions or comments? Vicki, please.
Councilman Krieger?
Aye.
Councilwoman Crawford?
Aye.
Councilman Green?
Aye.
Councilman Bernal?
Aye.
And Mayor Hunt.
Aye.
Mr. Mayor, the motion carried by a vote of 5-0.
Okay. Second public hearing this evening and consideration is a request by Robert Moses, contract purchaser, G. Curtis Daly, Sandra Graham, and John Graham, property owners, to rezone approximately 1.9 acres of property located behind Langley Federal Credit Union, specifically identified as tax map parcel 27 TAC 10 TAC 4, 27 TAC 10 TAC 4A, and 27 TAC 10 TAC 3 from general commercial to village commercial. Is there I'll open that public hearing. You start there. Okay, see no one that wants to speak on either side of that issue, so I'll close the public hearing and ask for consideration by council.
Mr. Mayor, may I make a motion that we adopt a resolution approving the rezoning of 1.9 acres of property located to the west of 415 With Creek Road, Poquoson. Tax map parcel numbers 27-10-4, 27-10-4A, and a portion of 27-10-3 from GC, General Commercial, to VC, Village Commercial.
Second.
Okay, motion made and seconded that we approve that request. Questions or comments? Seeing none, Vicki, please.
Councilman Green?
Aye.
Councilman Bernal?
Aye.
Councilman Krieger?
Aye.
Councilwoman Crawford.
Aye.
And Mayor Hunt.
Aye.
Mr. Mayor, the motion carried by a vote of 5-0.
Okay, next is a request by those same folks. G. Curtis Daly, Sandra Graham, John Graham, property owners, and Robert Moses as the contract purchaser, sir, for a conditional use permit to allow residential dwellings above the second floor in the Village Commercial District pursuant to Article 21, Section 11, Tac 3 of the zoning ordinance for the properties identified as tax map parcels 27, Tac 10, Tac 4, 10, Tac 4A, and 27, Tac 10, Tac 3. I'll open that public hearing. Seeing nobody interested in addressing that issue, I'll close the public hearing and ask for consideration by council.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we adopt a resolution approving a conditional use permit to allow residential dwellings above the second floor in the Village Commercial District on properties specifically identified as tax map parcel numbers 2710-4, 2710-4A, and a portion of 2710-3.
Second.
Okay, motion made and seconded that we approve that request. Questions or comments? Seeing none, Vicky, please.
Councilman Bernal.
Aye.
Councilman Green. Aye. Councilman Krieger.
Aye.
Councilwoman Crawford.
Aye.
And Mayor Hunt.
Aye.
Mr. Mayor, the motion carried by a vote of 5-0.
Okay, finally, a request by Robert Moses, contract purchaser, and the City of Poquoson Economic Development Authority for a conditional use permit to allow residential dwellings above the second floor in the Village Commercial District pursuant to Article 11, Section 11, Tac 3 of the zoning ordinance for a portion of the property identified as tax map parcel 27, Tac 1, Tac 88. I'll open the public hearing on this rezone, on this conditional use permit. I'm sorry. Seeing no speakers, I'll close the public hearing and ask for consideration by council.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion that we adopt a resolution approving a conditional use permit to allow residential dwellings above the second floor in the Village Commercial District of a portion of a parcel identified as Poquoson tax map parcel number 27-1-88.
Second.
Okay, motion made and seconded. Questions or comments? Seeing none, Vicky, please.
Certainly. Councilman Green.
Aye.
Councilman Bernal.
Aye.
Councilman Krieger.
Aye.
Councilwoman Crawford.
Aye.
And Mayor Hunt.
Aye.
Mr. Mayor, the motion carried by a vote of 5-0.
Okay, and the last item under new business, under public hearings this evening, is the subject of school board appointments. And at this time, we're not going to be taking action, but it is a public hearing to listen to names. And let's see, somebody's got those names in front of them.
Eastern Precinct is Robin C. Sidner, who is the incumbent, Wayne E. Holcomb. Central Precinct is Gail L. Whitaker, and at-large is Stephen S. Cast, who is the incumbent.
Okay. And I'll open the public hearing and ask if there are other names from the audience that somebody would request to be inserted. Seeing none, I'll close that public hearing, and we will make this appointment at an upcoming meeting. Okay, that is the last of that. We're on to new business, and this is one that we traditionally don't have an issue with, and this is a resolution canceling the first meeting of the months of June, July, and August of 2012. Looking for a motion.
So moved, Mr. Mayor.
Second.
Motion made and seconded that we cancel those meetings, and public should be aware that if there's a need to meet, we will call a special meeting to get together if there's something pressing. Questions or comments? Vicki, please.
Certainly. Councilman Krieger.
Aye.
Councilwoman Crawford.
Aye.
Councilman Green.
Aye.
Councilman Bernal.
Aye.
And Mayor Hunt.
Aye.
Mr. Mayor, the motion carried by a vote of 5-0.
Okay. And comments of the city manager, Randy?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have 5 things, but I promise to go quick. First, I just want to say thank you to members of council for all your work on the budget. This was a year-long endeavor, and I look forward to spending the next year on the next one with you. Also, thank you to Teresa and Robin and a small army of people that also includes Graham whenever we've got a problem we're not sure how to quite work out. It's a team effort, and we appreciate it, and we appreciate everything that you all have done for us as well as employees. Second, just take a moment to send our appreciation out to our police officers. This is National Police Week. Our police chief would have been here for us to congratulate him and extend our appreciation to him, but he has a conference learning about hurricane preparation with the assistant city manager, which is a perfect segue to notice to the public that the updated Virginia Hurricane Evacuation Guide is now out. It's available lots of places, including hard copies here. It's free. It's on the website as well. And we encourage everybody to have one of these. You never know when you may need it, and when you need it, it's too late to go get it. So they're available for you. Related to that, later this month, May 25th through May 31st, is Virginia Hurricane Preparedness Sales Tax Holiday period each year to allow folks a sales tax holiday for things that they need to have their family be as prepared as they can be for hurricane season. And lastly, a plug, and I think Teresa's going to come and speak to it at your next meeting, but it's never too early to remind folks that our next blood drive, this one happens to be what should be our first annual defense of our victory in the Mayor's Club Cup blood drive from last year. We'll be here June 6th. It's open to anybody. You don't need to be a city employee. You don't even have to be a city resident. We would welcome anyone to come and help us with the American Red Cross blood drive. If you would like to be a part of that, the easiest way for us to help you minimize your time here is to call ahead and get an appointment. And you can call 868-3031 to schedule an appointment so that we can get you in and out of here at a time that minimizes the impact on your schedule. That's all I have, sir.
Okay, thank you. Dr. Vernal.
Two quick things. One, our next regular meeting would have been scheduled on the fourth Monday, which would be Memorial Day. So our next meeting will in fact be on Tuesday, and I'm sure that's been well advertised, but just as a reminder. And the other thing, just to mention this for people who may be listening and watching as we quickly went through all of those ordinance changes, we've had extensive work sessions on those, spent a lot of time going through them with the staff and every implication of them, so it wasn't as cursory as it might have appeared as we went through those ordinances. We did spend a great deal of time in work sessions discussing them and examining all of the points and the possibilities of them.
Okay, thank you. Buddy?
Just like to welcome Doreen and Scott to the wonderful family of Poquoson employees. It's a wonderful group of people, and we're glad you're with us. And also to remind the citizens that this coming Tuesday is the food bank, which kind of snuck up on me because the 1st of May happened to fall on a Tuesday. And so I want to remind everybody that it is this coming Tuesday at the old City Hall building. The Kiwanis Club has graciously accepted to host it this time. We have host through August, so if a service organization wants to volunteer to take it after August, we need people for September, October, November, and December. And there will be one in December. Christmas is one of those, I think it's maybe Tuesday, maybe, or Christmas Eve, but they're going to move it to the 3rd Tuesday for December.
Okay,
So
very good.
this coming Tuesday, food bank.
This coming Tuesday, tomorrow Tuesday?
I'm sorry, Tuesday week.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
I'm in charge of organizing volunteers for Kiwanis, so I was in a big panic.
I'm sorry. Yeah,
Thank
it's
you very
Tuesday
much.
a week.
Thank you.
It's tomorrow, Tracy.
Thank you. I was going to start calling.
And Graham's right there.
Yeah.
Anyway, all right, Frank?
Just one thing, since we don't have a meeting on the 27th, the American Legion will be hosting a Memorial Day service out here in the front of City Hall. And I think it's at 11 o'clock, I believe.
I think that's correct.
I think it is.
We'll let Randy be looking that up while we
I'll confirm
continue.
that.
Okay.
I think it's 10.
That's all I have.
That's all you got?
While he looks it up, yeah.
I think it's 10.
Tracy?
I was going to encourage people to come to the Community Day this Saturday and stop by Kiwanis and buy some barbecue. I also wanted to welcome Doreen and extend best wishes to Councilman Southall and his family. I also wanted to, I appreciate what Dr. Vernal said about it. It may look like we did this very quickly and didn't discuss the budget, which could not be further from reality. I've had many conversations with Graham and Randy, and then we've had a lot of work sessions. And money has to come from somewhere. I wish we could say, you know, taxes were nothing on everything, but there's only so much to go around. And I do think that the council and the city manager in particular has done an excellent job of coming to some compromise with the fees versus taxes. And it's rough, but it is what it is. And I think we're doing a good job of living within our limited means.
Yep. And with that said, Council, again, I would applaud all of staff that participated with the budget. But basically, it's been based on a history of good finances in the city of Poquoson, and the great bond rating that we received solved a lot of issues for us. I would also thank the council for working together as late as this evening to start a compromise and to work together. I think everybody can see that the council does communicate. They do work together and try and look out for each other's concerns, because it truly is the wisdom of the seven that make the city function as well as it does. It's not about one or two of us. It's about the wisdom of the seven coming together. And I would say that this council tries to make that evident every time. With that said, I think we have a closed session to go to.
Mr. Mayor.
And I'll ask for a motion that we do that.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we convene a closed session pursuant to Section 2.2, 3711A3 of the Code of Virginia 1950, as amended, to discuss the disposition of publicly held property, i.e. Messick Point.
Second.
Motion made and seconded that we go into closed session to talk about property things. Thank you, please.
Councilwoman Crawford.
Aye.
Councilman Krieger.
Aye.
Councilman Vernal.
Aye.
Councilman Green.
Aye.
And Mayor Hunt.
Aye.
Mr. Mayor, the motion carried by a vote of 5-0.
Okay, thank you very much, and we are going to closed session, so good night to all of you.